Oh, I got a phone call last week getting clearance on this session to show you it top to bottom, the guts of it, what I've done. This track is all my friends from Xandri, and I'm really excited because this is a feature track which I'm using in my Advanced Mastering Details 2.0 masterclass, where I go over macro dynamics. And there's something magical I do here in macro dynamics, which I've never done before. I don't think is commonly shown. If somebody else has shown it, you know, hats off to them, but this is my first time showing this technique or even considering it because it was so serendipitous. This is how this technique came about in the session. And I've also got the analog gear here because that plays a role in the tone of the final master. So, Tim Maxwell was sitting on the back couch. Darius was sitting on the back couch. Tim Maxwell is a ARIA charting mixing engineer here in Australia, an absolute legend in the rock scene. What I want you to do is just listen to this transition. So this is All American Bitch by Olivia Rodrigo. This is the reference track they sent. Listen to this transition. And this video is going to get demonetized. So make sure you like, subscribe, join the newsletter down below, all that good stuff, because this will completely demonetize this video.
And I make light of the darkness. I've got sun in my motherfucking pocket. Best believe. Yeah, you know me.
How beautiful is that? How gorgeous is that? You've got this beautiful soft texture, this lovely soft texture, and then it goes into negative 3.4 LUFS grit and in your face in the chorus. And that was the reference they gave me, and I'll play you the before version of the mix I was starting from, so you get an idea of the similarities or the mirror in that transition.
Like I had an alternate reaction mix, working about it with some disdain. Cause now you're back in town and I'm just having you around, but there's one thing that might get in the way. All my friends hate your guts. I fucked up when
Not as soft and smooth in the verse, but a definite transition and change in energy. And that's what I locked in. I love this obtuse grit. And what I want to do is I'm just going to put up the name of the mastering engineer for All American Bitch, Olivia Rodrigo, because I think they deserve like 2 thumbs up for the way they've managed that master. The transitions between the sections is beautiful. And I've got my own take on it for this master I did for Xandri in the session. So we'll go through this change. So obviously it was a bit hot coming in. I've just trimmed it down 6 decibels to start with, just because that's just typical standard for me. In case any of the plugins don't have a 24-bit ceiling. All of them do, but it's just typical habit for me just to trim down that 6 dB on the way in. After that, I got Pro Q3. Now, the sides were really boomy in this, so I've ended up pulling some of the side energy down below 50 Hertz, and we can have a listen to what that is doing there. So that was the first thing. That real sub rumble in the side is something I picked up early, and we just cleaned that up an ever so little bit. The next thing is bass control, and for bass control I wanted a bit more punch out of the drums, and this here was the magic. Sustain power. So sustain in the bass control for isotope is an upward compressor on the sustain signal, where it compresses the signal and blends it back up with itself. So what we'll do is we'll do this in 2 parts. We'll turn off the punch and just listen to the sustain off and on. Okay, we'll start with it off and then we'll put it back in. Okay, so that's just adding the sustain, and now the punch. We'll do the same thing, we'll turn it off and then put it back in. At the moment, I'm just sort of prepping and moving things. You would have noticed the balance up here said it was light, but I don't really like using this slider here to modulate the balance. Especially on a tune like this, it's a bit sterile. It's actually not super great as a filter. I'd rather use another EQ or something else. But for this one, what I chose to do, and this is something I'm getting pretty typical with Tim Maxwell's mixes, is using this Fern VT7 and just focusing this gain knob to lift up some of that low end. And this is just a typical thing I'm doing on mixes that are really punk, rock, driven energy that need weight in the low end but don't necessarily just need a shelf filter boosting. I like to saturate a little bit with the VT7, and this is probably the third time in 5 videos you've seen me do this, but it's just beautiful what it can do. Beautiful. Now here's where a little bit more of the magical juice happens. We've got the hardware chain in here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull everything in bypass, 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 and we're going to bring them in one by one. Now what I've got here is a 1 dB boost on the sub frequencies. I think that's like 10 Hertz there. That's the high voltage EQ6S. So 1 dB boost there, half a dB cut at 650 Hertz, and a 2 decibel shelf at 10 kilohertz. So when I click this button, it will be in. When I click that button, it will be out. Let's have a good old listen. So it's just lifting and driving that energy. This 650 Hertz little cut, that little cut there, is more so because I'm conscious of the mid-range, or that sort of low part of the mid's building up too much and clouding the signal as I try to drive it, especially with the guitars because they've got so much energy. Next, I got the Verimu, slow recovery, fast attack. And the reason why I went for that is so it would just crunch super hard up against every little detail. I really wanted this Verimu to just be squishing really hard. Take a listen to this as I put it in. And the final one is, I know that says bypass, but when I click that, it's actually in bypass, and then when I click that, it's actually in. Don't ask me why, it's been like that since I got it. So if I click that, it's out and in bypass technically, and when I click that in, it's in. Now we've got a 1 dB boost at 73 Hertz, that's a shelf. We've got a half a dB cut at 670 again, so cut before and after the compressor, and then a 1 dB boost at 1.5K, and another 1.5 dB boost right at 20 kilohertz. So let's take a listen to that. Then from there, what I've chosen to do is add Crafter just for a bit of multiband soft clipping on the transients. And now the magical bit, the bit where I said we got really creative. So far, we've made a few tonal changes, we've made a few tweaks. The real big one on the tone with this master so far is the Verimu with the super fast attack. Well, not super fast, fast by Verimu standards, but the fastest is tack on the Varimu and a slow recovery to really gel and make it gluey, very gluey, that section. So it feels like the compression is just working. You can feel it working, but not moving right. And that's on purpose. I wanted that sort of pressure up against the ceiling where it pumps weirdly, because I got that energy out of the Olivia Rodrigo mix there, or master there. So far we've got the Varimu. That's number one in terms of the tone shaping for this chorus. But the magic is here on this standard clip. What I did was, because I'm like, oh, on the Olivia Rodrigo one, it's soft and beautiful and smooth in the verses, and then it goes crazy. Let's take a listen to this second verse.
Integrity just like the goddamn Kennedy, I swear, with love to spare. Forgive and I forget. I know my age and I act like it. God, what?
Beautiful. So it's soft and smooth, and then lots of in-your-face energy. So I thought, with standard clip, why don't we try something here? What I tried was, so remember, the Varimu's the main grit master in the chorus, but to really amp it up with the standard clip, what we're doing is, we are automating the saturation. Take a listen to what this soft clipper does. Okay, we're going to do one version off and then one version on.
'Cause now you're back in town and I miss having you around, but there's one thing that might get in the way. All my friends hate your guts. I fucked up when I told them all. 'Cause now you're back in town and I miss having you around, but there's one thing that might get in the way. All my friends hate your guts. I fucked up when I
So that was the real magical moment. That's what I really wanted to share with you guys. The idea of managing the macro dynamics, so the texture of the loud and the soft section, through automating the amount of soft clipping. So in the verses, there's no soft clipping. There's no transition into the ceiling. It's completely open. It's natural. It's relaxed. And then as soon as that chorus hits, look at that automation line. Boom, it just smacks straight up in your face, and it mirrors a lot of what the Olivia Rodrigo track does. And then in the final part of this, using the limiter, I opted for the modern limiter to choke that low end and really close in the density of that final master. And then you get this loud section sounding really akin to the reference track. So we'll play the reference and then we'll jump up to my master. So now we've got this big, loud, bombastic chorus, and what I want you to listen and lock into isn't necessarily the balance or the tone, but the energy and the grit and the angst and that freaking in-your-face, smack-you-around tone, especially in the guitars. We'll play the Olivia Rodrigo reference, and then we'll play my master. And again, I used the modern limiter because I feel like it chokes the low end a little bit, which I wanted in this track. Because without it, it was a bit too big and a bit too boomy on it. So why did I want to put this forward? Because I wanted to put this forward because this was just a really unique experience for me in terms of getting this reference and then thinking of it as a puzzle that I had to sort of pull apart and then put back together again. And the puzzle was these transitions between the verse and the chorus, and the energy and the grit in the chorus, and how I could manipulate the mix in a way to represent these transitions between light and dark, or soft and smooth, and coarse and edgy. And I did that through simply automating this parameter here, the soft clipping, in standard clip. And you can see that automation line that happens with each of the choruses up and down, and it just helped shift that perspective between the verses and the choruses, which I think is really fun. And this is literally a whole module on macro dynamics where I go over almost about, I think about half a dozen techniques in the module on macro dynamics on different ways to manage transitions between different passages of a song. And if you want access to that and to check out that masterclass when it's released, join the newsletter down below. And if you enjoyed this, check out this other video on this EQ filter I built based on the equivalent rectangular bandwidth equation, which is how our ears perceive sound, or critical bands. That's a whole other topic, so make sure you click here to check that out. And until next time, take care.